Are we recording yet? I don't hear.
Who is that? I don't even we have.
Now I can hear. I heard that, Phil.
Hey, Sharon, are you out there?
Yes, sir.
I only see Joe. I'm here down at City Hall. I see Joe and Sophia. I don't see anybody else on here. Do I got to wait a minute?
How many is that?
That's 3.
2, 3.
We got to have at least 4, right?
Yes, we do. We need 4 for quorum.
So do I just simply wait? Or do
Yeah. Yes, I would wait. And then I will I'll give Aviva a call and see what her ETA is.
Okay.
Okay.
Tom may not be here, but I would have expected Gio, Aviva, and Angela.
Yes.
So, okay.
Likewise. I'll shoot her a message right now.
Okay.
I'll shoot both her and Gio a message now.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Hey, everyone out there. I think you just heard that conversation I had with Sharon from corporate counsel, but we're waiting just a moment for hopefully either Angela or Viviva to join us.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, your voice sounds deeper than it usually does, but I can hear you fine.
Okay.
You're not sick, are you?
Actually, I am.
Oh, I wondered because you really do sound. First, they said a second ago, who is that? They're like, it's Joe. I said, that's not Joe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. President, even when we're not voting, it's a work session, we still need to have 4.
I'm just going by what Sharon told me a moment ago.
Okay.
So she can answer that again, or.
All right.
Oh, here we go. Viva's here. No, because we don't have a quorum until you just showed up. All right, we'll let Viva catch her breath for 1 second. Councilmember Friedman, and she is here, and we will gavel in 1 second.
Hi, President. Thank you so much. I did reach out to both Councilman Friedman. Hi, Councilman Friedman, as well as Councilman Scaringi. And I did double check our charter. And because a work session is business, conducting business, even though we're not voting, a quorum is required.
Okay, you good? You good? Okay. Okay. Okay, welcome everyone to the City Council work session for Monday, April 4th, 2022. Please stand for the pledge of the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America.
Thank you. Janine, can you do roll call for us up there?
Councilman Scaringi is absent. Councilwoman Rezanetti,
Here.
Councilwoman Riley is absent. Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon is absent, and President Strawn.
Present.
All right, that is 4 here and 3 absent.
Okay, we'll get right into it. We'll try to catch up on the fly here. To start us off, we have David Sabaka, the new owner of the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, and he's graciously just come down here to give us a few minutes of his time just to give us a quick update on opening day next week and any other updates as far as the future improvements after the season. Anything Rumble Ponies that you want to share with us as we get ready for hopefully a great season.
Thank you, President Strawn, and thank you, council members, for making the time. I'll try to get you some time back so you can be on the schedule. First of all, I just want to bring you up to date on where we are on our construction project. Phase 1, which included some minor alterations, but also adding padding to the outfield wall, which was a safety requirement from Major League Baseball. Most of that is done in preparation for the season. In fact, today we started putting up the padding on the wall, which we expect to complete by Thursday. And all the phase 1 will in fact be complete for opening day next Tuesday. Phase 2, which is the larger construction project having to do with enlarging the clubhouses, creating women's locker room facilities, and some improvements to our weight facility. That planning is underway. Chanis and Anderson was selected through the bidding process as the low bid. We have met with them. They are doing drawings now. They are working off of old drawings, which will expedite the process. And we hope within the next 7 to 10 days to see their initial cut at the plans. We are also getting feedback from the New York Mets, who have added some additional requests into the plan, especially around women's locker room facilities. They feel very strongly about gender equity, and we are working with them to try to fit, their needs into our proposed plans. We don't at this time see anything that would cause us to come outside of the budget, but of course, we are dealing with an environment where we've got a lot of inflation and a lot of goods and services that could be more expensive than we anticipated. There was some contingencies built in to the original estimate, and we believe that we'll still be able to fit within the original estimate and get all the work done, including the additional wants and needs of the Mets, who are critical to this process. We have to not only meet Major League Baseball's requirements, but also the Mets requirements. And I think quite rightly, in terms of facilities and gender equity, they're being foresightful because we see more and more female coaches being employed by Major League Baseball and minor league baseball. This year, we'll have our first female minor league manager in Florida in Yankee system. This is all going to go only one way. So we should be ahead of the curve rather than building something and then getting an ask from Major League Baseball 2 or 3 years down the line, which will require additional expense to fix what we could have fixed in the first place. We still hope in late spring to go out to bid so that as soon as the season completes in September, we will be able to begin construction on the project and meet the requirements of Major League Baseball by next spring, which will put us in good standing. They have a point system, which we are in violation of now, but we have some time to cure, and it will be cured. In terms of the season, we're very, very excited about the season. Our roster is not official from the Mets, but I can say with a high degree of confidence that we're getting their three highest rated prospects, including in all likelihood, the number 10 prospect in all of baseball. So we should have a really compelling team to watch. And we've been preparing a stadium, so we have a compelling place to watch it in. Opening day next Tuesday, we will have a fleece blanket giveaway and fireworks. I hope you all make it down to the ballpark. We're hoping to have a few thousand people there. And the weather is supposed to be good, as President Strawn and I were just discussing, hopefully be in the 60s during the day, which will make it a lot more pleasant, and we won't need those fleece blankets. On Friday, April 15th, we will be observing Jackie Robinson Day with our night game that night. We'll have some programming celebrating the 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in Major League Baseball. So this is certainly an occasion worth commemorating. And we plan on unveiling a number 42 to honor Jackie Robinson, as they have in every major league park. They have retired the number 42. And in fact, on that day, all players across the major leagues wear the number 42. We don't do that in the minor leagues, but we'll still be making a special occasion of it. And then on Easter Sunday, we will have an Easter egg hunt featuring our mascot, Rowdy the horse, as the Rowdy Bunny. As we go through the season, I think we have a season with the most promotions we've ever had. We'll have personal appearances by former Major League Baseball players, by a member of the cast of The Office. We will dress up as Marvel characters one night. We will have a Star Wars night. And very importantly, one other notable date is July 23rd, a Saturday night. We'll be having Bud Fowler bobblehead night. Bud Fowler is a baseball player who's being inducted into the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown this summer. He was probably, if not the last, one of the last Black baseball players in integrated baseball before Jackie Robinson in 1947. And Bud Fowler played for Binghamton, the Binghamton Bingos, in 1887. And he and his Black teammate, a fellow named Renfro, were dismissed from the team for racial reasons. So other players on the team petitioned the owner that either those two black players would go or they would go. So, but Bud Fowler was an outstanding ball player, went on to a further career as a barnstorming baseball player and one of the foundational members of the Negro Baseball Leagues. But we are going to take the occasion, since he has this connection to Binghamton, to honor him the day before he goes into the Hall of Fame. So it's going to be an action-packed season. We're also trying to bring non-baseball events to the stadium, and we're starting off with an event on June 18th, Nitro Circus, which is an extreme sports show featuring motorcycles and skateboards and bicycles and lawnmowers and armchairs flying through the air off of ramps. It is an internationally famed show, and we are hoping to draw a great crowd, not just from the Binghamton area, but also from Syracuse and Scranton, since this is exclusive to Binghamton and the first time it's ever appeared in Binghamton. Hopefully this will be the template for bringing other events to the stadium, whether it's music or other sports. And we're talking with a lot of local community leaders about ways to also bring film and music and other art forms to the stadium, as well with local schools. So we have a number of high school baseball games slated for this spring. So we're just trying to give the community much more access to the stadium and more familiarity with the stadium, which is something that I think in discussions with some of you one-on-one, I had stressed was going to be a goal, was to create more access and more use out of the stadium. I think it's a fantastic asset for the city and for the region, and we just need to get more out of it. So that's my summary of hopefully what 2022 will turn into. I need all of your help to keep, making Binghamton baseball and Marabito Stadium the #1 venue for outdoor entertainment in the region. So please come to games, ask your friends to come to games, come to Nitro Circus, check it out. This is, word of mouth is the best advertising we can have. So appreciate any help you can lend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, David. We appreciate it. Any brief questions for Mr. Sabaka while we have him here? Go ahead.
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you, David, for that. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, no, we hear you.
Okay. Thank you for that summary, and also thank you for, it sounds like, you put a lot of work into it. It sounds very exciting, and we'll make sure that we get the word out there to support you guys as much as possible. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. Hello, it's nice to see you again. So I just had a quick question. First of all, I want to say that this sounds like an action-packed season, and I noted the dates in my day planner. So I do plan to attend some of them. It sounds very exciting. So I did have a question about the, I think it was the phase 2 of construction. You said that right now we're not in compliance with some aspects, understandably, because we have to construct the stadium to be in compliance. Are there any fees or fines or anything that will be, I guess, incurred due to this lack of compliance before the construction starts?
It's a very good question. No, we have a grace period. And there are possibilities of fines which would be levied against the team and not the city. But the bigger risk is that if we weren't in compliance, I could lose the franchise. So to it's not an underestimation to say that this is kind of a existential issue for me. And so we're working very closely with, you know, all branches of the city government and the chosen architect. And then we will be working very closely with whatever contractors are selected to make sure that, one, it's done on a timely basis, and two, that it's done in compliance with what MLB has asked for.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Thank you. I also wanted to make it noted that I am here. It's good to see you again, Mr. Sabaka. Thank you for all of the information you shared and for the invitation. Hopefully we can stay as long as we can on Wednesday. We do have a meeting, but again, we want to be able to support. I do have a question. I know when we met before, there were going to be periodic updates surrounding the contract for a temporary site, a person that was going to be overseeing the certification and the, I hate to say, accreditation process. And they would be ultimately responsible for ensuring that the field or the stadium met the requirements for the per the MLB standards. That's correct, right?
There is a firm that has been employed by Major League Baseball to verify that we meet the standards. That is correct.
And no, we had one gentleman that was staying on because of his expertise, but he was on a temporary basis. And we talked about we may need to extend his contract.
Yes, his name is Pete Popovic, and he is our consultant who has worked on multiple stadiums and has worked on our stadium. I think the two other times that it went through recent construction projects. So he is, I believe his contract will come to expiry at the same time that we put out the bids for the jobs, and then we will probably see that there will be a request to extend through the construction period.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And again, please keep us in the loop regarding events, and anytime we can share with our constituents, we'll do what we can to support.
Appreciate that, Councilwoman.
Okay, thank you for coming down. Well, go ahead. Is that Councilman
Yeah.
Burns? Go
Yes,
ahead.
yes.
Go ahead,
Yeah, yeah.
Councilman Burns.
Thank you so much for coming down, and your enthusiasm is contagious. I hope it's contagious to me. I know, and I'll try to get my my grandchildren. Hopefully, well, you're definitely going to see myself and my grandchildren in a game or two or three. And thanks for the history lesson on the black player there. The black players. That is fascinating, and I'm hoping to find more out about that. Thanks very much.
My pleasure. Can't wait to see you at the stadium.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sabaka. We appreciate you coming down. We'll see you down there. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we'll move on to Chief Sikorsky, RL 2298. Go ahead, Chief, whenever you're ready.
If he's talking, we can't hear.
Yes, I was just wondering that. Is he there talking? And,
I was. Can you hear me now?
oh, we didn't hear a word you said. Sorry,
No,
can you start
okay.
over again?
Yeah, I would encourage everybody out there, don't hesitate to speak up because
Please,
we
I'm out of
can't,
breath now. I need a
we,
rest.
there's no way we can tell from here.
Sorry,
obviously we
I
can
thought
hear
maybe
him
he was
in
on
my-
the phone. Okay, okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
chief. Sorry, chief. Give
Okay, I'll start over.
another quick summary of the summary.
Okay, yeah. Request to move $530,000 from the lost revenue line into my vehicle line to purchase 10 fully equipped vehicles. There's a lot that goes into the cars other than to purchase the vehicle itself. Lights and sirens and the computers, that's roughly $12,000. They have to be painted. The doors, that's another $1,200. The graphics is extra money. And the other items that go into them. Cars take a long time to be, even once we get in to get them on the road. They have to be, first they go to the paint shop and we have to get an appointment for that. Then they go to graphics. Then they have to go get the lights and siren put in them. And that's a week for each vehicle. At a large operation that does a lot of cars. And then IT has to do their thing. We're asking for these cars because the mileage, sorry for the late, I sent out an email this afternoon with the mileage on all the patrol vehicles. And you can see there are several in 100,000, well over 100,000, some approaching 200,000. In the past, I've mentioned that all the manufacturers say that a police vehicle is roughly 3 times the actual mileage because of all the running time in the cars. So, we asked I'm asking to expedite it because time is of the essence. 6 of these are going to be marked cars. That deadline to order cars for this year was a couple of weeks ago. The dealership on the state contract said if we were to get them a PO in a short order, they still let us order them. It takes a long time to get cars. We ordered some cars last June or July. And as I said, we got a couple cars in last week that were ordered months and months ago. I also asked to expedite it because the computer aspects of it is at the very minimum 4 to 6 weeks. The docking stations, and that could be roughly set us back anywhere from 2 to 3 months. And if we didn't expedite this, it's just going to set us back more as some cars we already ordered are coming in. It's a very, cars are tough to come by. We've been notified that 2023, there'll be no hybrid police vehicles because they can't get the chips. Unmarked cars, it's sort of it's a hard thing that we have to go out to bid or go to what's called a mini bid. And then once that bid goes out, if nobody replies, then we can work a deal with local dealers, but we have to send it out first. And Matthew's recent vehicles were good enough to hold some cars for us. We were looking at a couple of cars that one came in this week, said, no, we're not holding it for you. So that's another reason we're expediting, because as dealerships get cars, they're going out the door as fast as they get them. So we have to, as they come in, we have to be prepared to say, okay, we'll cut a PO and, once we get the okay, it's either on a mini bid or a deal with a local dealership.
Okay, questions for Chief Sikorsky? Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. Hi, Chief. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. I have a couple of questions for you. First of all, to clarify the lost revenue line, that's the ARPA money that would be
I believe so, yes.
moved. Okay. Is this an expense that you were anticipating, the 10 police vehicles?
Well, we're always looking to get new vehicles. If you saw my email at the cars, there's cars with 152,000, 2 cars, 167,000, 171,000, 169,000, 181,000. So we're always looking for cars, and it's taken so long to get them in. So we're getting, the fleet's getting, we're putting good money after bad, repairing the cars that, these cars that have 152 or, more, 167, that's really 300,000-400,000 miles on them. So, whenever the money becomes available, we try to get the money and purchase cars as we can get the funds.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just taking notes here. So is this something that you would normally include in the police budget, like the capital? I guess this would be a capital. Maybe not a
We've
capital
never
fund.
bought, I don't believe we've ever bought vehicles out of capital line. I think they've always been in my normal budget. And
Okay.
obviously that'd be a great expense to the taxpayers. They had that in. So, I've been through a lot of mayors and they're pretty frugal with getting cars, usually, just the way it is. So I don't ever recall us buying, maybe way back when there was a lease program, I think went to capital budget years ago, but usually it's just in my normal budget, any vehicles we're going to purchase.
Okay. And my last question is in the memo here from Captain Bidwell. In the second paragraph, it says that the patrol car is the way that we provide a visible presence in high crime areas. And I was wondering if there is any data to support that the presence of a police vehicle in a high crime area is a effective way to reduce crime.
Yes, there is. There's contradicting information. There's a couple big studies. I'm a big advocate and believe in preventive patrols. The site of it. There was a large study years ago, I believe it was out of Rochester, New York, where they flooded an area with police vehicles to reduce crime. There was one out in California many years ago that supported the same thing. And what was odd is that the precinct that was done in, I think it was LA, the crime went down there. There was a reduction. It didn't push over to adjoining precincts. They really couldn't understand that part of the study, that they thought they just pushed the crime someplace else and they didn't. So, and there's other people, it depends who you talk to. There's other scholars who say, no, it isn't. But it's in my experience, 43 years and what I've read, police presence and high visibility reduces crime. Some police departments have gone to lighting up the light bar or parts of it for patrol so people can see them from far away. We tried that, and shortly after that, several police officers were killed and they were shot at. And so I took them off. But there's just recently somebody told me they were someplace in the last couple of weeks, and there is a police department doing that. So yes, I believe, I don't know, there's probably data both ways, supporting both arguments.
Okay, I would be really interested to read those studies if you would be able to.
I don't think I can. These are old studies that I don't even know where I'd find them. One was at a GIVE conference. The LA one was at We Get GIVE funding, which it was Impact back then, that the professor did it, was a speaker that the state paid for and flew from California that spoke on it. And they brought up the Rochester study. So I wouldn't know where those studies are located.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I say something?
Councilwoman Rezanetti, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess it's more of a comment. So about 3 weeks ago, Chief, I went on a ride along. I talked about it a little bit, and I'm hearing what you're saying about how long it takes, right, to get new vehicles and to make the repairs and do what we have to do. But I have to tell you, I messaged you, or I contacted you right after, and I was so surprised at the condition of this particular vehicle that I was in with this officer, and I was just kind of like surprised. Is that, like, I understand wear and tear, and I hear what you're saying about the miles, and I would think that just as the engine is, I don't know, over its whatever miles it's supposed to be, that the exterior also takes a toll. But I'm wondering, is that common? Like what I saw, Janine, if you're listening, I did send you the email with those pictures if anybody is interested in seeing them, to forward them. But that was, literally this officer sitting like on these metal things that were sticking out from the seat. Is that common? Tell me that's not common, and that's not the way that the mostly are.
If the officers notify us, we've sent cars out, once again, at expense to, to be repaired. We've bought seat covers. Actually, in this money that I'm asking for, we put in seat covers for the vehicles to try to reduce the wear and tear. But when you start, these police officers' office. They have a right to have a clean, safe environment. It's their office for 8 hours, in and out of that car all day long. So, as they notify us, we try to take care of the problem as we can.
Okay.
As I said, we've had cars repaired before. We've had unmarked cars. It's always been difficult for me to get approval to buy unmarked vehicles. We've had to put steel plating in the bottom of some cars recently so you couldn't see the road, and that's a fact. So
Yeah,
we try.
I was very surprised to see the condition of that vehicle in that way. So I will absolutely be supporting this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Chief on RL 2298? Okay, thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Just leave that on. Just your green light on so we can hear out. Just leave that on.
Yeah.
Okay, from one chief to the next, we got Chief Gardner coming up. Hello, Chief Gardner. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Is your green light still on there?
Yes, it is.
Okay, we don't want to have to repeat.
Everybody
repeat
hear me
anything.
okay?
You guys hear Chief Gardner out there? Okay. Okay, Chief Gardner, tell us about RL 22106 and 22107.
Okay. 22106. This will increase the total number of firefighters to 119. I'm sorry, that 120 is a typo. Until 2 additional firefighters retire, which is expected to be in the August timeframe. ARPA will be paying for 3 firefighters for the remainder of 2022. And they will be included in the budget in 2023.
Okay, any questions for Chief Gardner on RL 22106? Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Yes, I was just wondering, can you tell me the composition right now of the firing squad in terms of ethnicity and gender?
I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. I can tell you this next group of 12 we're hiring, we have four females, which will over double the number of females in the fire department.
But in terms of ethnic diversity, does our department look like the community in which they serve?
I don't have the data in front of me, but it's something I could get back to you on.
Okay, awesome. And then tell me, are there any programs that you and the team are working on to kind of increase or expose or diversify the pipeline and those that are being sent to the academy? So outreach and support initiatives to ensure we have different candidates that are eligible for these positions.
I don't think we have a program in place, but I know it's when we issue the civil service test. I think it's publicized, but as far as actively going out in the community, I don't think we're not doing that at this time.
Okay, now the fit test, I don't think you were there when we toured, but the CPAP is part of this process, right?
Correct.
Okay, and I know there are some communities that offer waivers and assistance to ensure that trainees that may not have access to the classes to improve their ability to pass the CPAP exist. Is that something we've thought about?
It's something we did this year. Normally we do not. It's up to the candidates basically to join a gym and get themselves physically fit and ready for the test.
But we aren't actively doing anything to kind of increase the pool.
The pool of people who are fit for the CPAT.
Yes.
No, well, they have a lot of lead time, and they're instructed on what they have to do, the different stations, and but as far as actively bringing them in for training, no, we don't usually do that.
Okay. And then one final question, just for my clarification. There was I think the test, there was a recent test certification exam, right?
Correct.
For is it lieutenant in chief? What exams were open recently?
What exams are open as far as promotional tests?
Yes.
Chief, and I believe we will be issuing or actually requesting a test for the fire marshal position.
Okay. How many of our men actually pursued this test? Do you know?
Which test?
Either, I think it was chief and lieutenant, right? Or no?
Chief, it was probably last time, I think it was 2.
Okay.
So they didn't have a viable list of 2 people. It has to be at least 3.
Okay.
And
right.
they've called for another one, and it's going to be this year.
It's going to be this year. When
Yep.
do you know when?
Yeah, the state won't tell you that. They won't give you that information. I'm guessing in the fall sometime, but I can't say for sure.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. Hi, Chief Gardner.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Okay, not too bad.
Okay, so ARPA will be paying for three new firefighters of the 12. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, for the remainder of the year.
Okay, and then going forward, how will they be funded?
They'll be funded. They'll be budgeted for, but we're anticipating retirements in August. So
Okay,
that'll bring us down to the 117.
and that's the previous staffing level was
Yes,
117.
Yeah, right now we're at 107. So the 12 new hires will bring us to 119. Then when 2 retire in August, we'll be back down to normal levels at 117. So
I see. Okay, so there's a temporary overlap
right.
between the new firefighters before the other ones retire, and that's where this supplemental ARPA funding is needed.
Correct.
Okay, I understand. All right, thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
And Chief, there'll probably be a little bit of an offset eventually having additional from the overtime. I'm assuming there'd be somewhat of a.
Yeah, it's definitely it's gonna help tremendously with the overtime, because I mean, if we're missing 10 people,
Right.
and staffing.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Chuck just said that won't actually happen in that way till August, but at some point there will be a trade-off between the regular time and the overtime. Councilwoman Resinetti, go ahead.
Yeah, quick question, Chief. So it's going by fall, I think you said there's going to be 117. Did I hear you say
Correct.
that?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the ideal number? What's the number that you're usually looking to be at? And I know you were 10 short or something like that, but what's the number that we're looking at?
We're funded for 117.
Oh,
Currently.
117.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
and right now we're down to 107.
Okay.
So 12
Thank
new
you.
hires will bring us to what we have, 119.
Thank you. I missed it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Yes, thank you again. I just thought about it. Now with the 117, I know we had a number that were inactive because they were on disability. Are these active duty? Once we get to the fall, will all 117 be active?
Yes, they will.
Okay. So then we should see a trend, our overtime trending downward.
That's the plan. Yes. Thank you. Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Chief Gardner on this first RL? Okay, Chief, you think you have one more at 20 RL 22107?
Okay. This is a resolution to amend the 2022 fire budget and supplemental disability. It's the increase A 9085.5 58000 supplemental payments to disabled firefighters, $36,790.98, and decrease budget item A 3410-51000. That's fire personnel services, $36,790.98 due to additional firefighter on supplemental disability.
Okay, any questions for Chief on RL 22-107? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Have a good night. We appreciate it.
Have a nice night.
Okay, Chuck is at the table already. We'll move right into RL 2296. Go ahead, Chuck.
This is a simple budget transfer. I think everyone remembers the 4 vehicles that got damaged last December across the street. This is to increase the insurance recoveries line by $100,000, which we believe we can get 4 vehicles for, and increase the expense so we can buy them. We are still negotiating with the other company that damaged the vehicles for payment, and we're going to have to probably go into some type of litigation on that. In the meantime, Parks and Engineering needs these vehicles for the summer work.
Okay, questions for Chuck Shager on RL? What is it? Oh, I got my 2296. Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Yes, please clarify. You said we're amending by 100,000.
Right.
Okay, our document says 5,000.
Okay, then that must be the 5,000 one. I'm got the wrong one here. I thought it was the $100,000 one. The 5,000 is to cover. That was that's a 5,100 account, I think, Council.
Yeah.
Can someone give him a copy of what we're looking at?
This, yeah, here. This looks like an adjustment.
This is for at the end of the year, we're short $5,000 in the incurred loss line. And this is increasing that by $5,000, moving it from another line. Those are payments that we made last year. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, Chuck, thank you for that clarification. I don't know that we see the 100,000 one at all in here. Is that? What's that? Oh, that's pending.
Yeah, it's 2293
Okay.
for Wednesday night. I'm sorry about that.
So I'm sorry, I just,
Okay,
what did you just say, Chuck? I didn't
So,
hear that.
wait,
Can you-
So 2293, if you look at our pending legislation, the very last, it's spilled over to another page, the very last piece. So that's already been through work session. We're voting on that Wednesday night, 2293. So Chuck was just going over that again. And then the new one is just to tidy up for the end of the year for the.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Do you see that on the pending legislation right at the very end of our agenda? So
nothing has changed.
No.
Okay.
okay, any other questions for Mr. Shager? Okay, thank you. Is Grace, you still with us?
I'm still here.
Okay. Tell us about
So
RL,
this, oh yeah, go ahead.
tell us about RL 2297.
So this is just another resolution authorizing the sale of 19 Franklin Street to Elwin Warner for $400. It's a part of our side lot program that we have, and it has to be kept as green space.
Okay, questions for Grace on RL 2297? Okay, thank you, Grace.
Thank you.
Megan, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead and tell us about RL 22-115.
Okay, this is to amend permanent ordinance 2039, which council passed back in April of 2020. That ordinance was for the sale of 168 Oak Street and a portion of Elizabeth Street to Front Street Residences LLC for construction of affordable housing. It's my understanding there was an issue with the wording of that ordinance that passed back in 2020. In order to correct that, and also because it's been 2 years since council approved that legislation, Corporation Council is advising a new ordinance, which is attached here to replace it.
Okay, this is for that project over by Botnick, correct?
Yeah, on the corner of Front and Clinton, that's right.
Okay. Questions for Megan on RL 22-115? Councilwoman Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. Hi, Megan. How are you?
I'm good, Councilmember Friedman. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Okay, so I guess I'm a little bit confused as to why this needs to be updated. I know you said we voted on it 2 years ago, but I'm confused as to why we need to vote on it again or like re-approve this ordinance.
Sure. So Sharon, who's on, might be able to provide more clarity, but my understanding is if you look at the draft ordinance that's attached, page 13 and 14 in your packet, towards the bottom, it says that the 2020 legislation that was approved, it was a draft of the ordinance and it was inadvertently approved. So it looks like that left off reference to a portion of our city law regarding abandonment of Elizabeth Street as part of this sale. So that replacing it with this new ordinance corrects that. And it was also just, I think, best practice as relayed to us by Corporation Council that this legislation is now 2 years old. The transfer of property hasn't happened yet. It should go back to council.
I see. Okay, thank you for that explanation. I also, I noticed a difference in the two ordinances, the draft. I think if I'm looking at this correctly, so the ordinance 20-39 in section 2 underneath the now therefore, it says the premises may be only used for the construction of 115 affordable housing units in 2 separate buildings and for recreation. And then the new, or I guess not the newer one that was from April 20th, it then says, well, like all the way at the end, the same thing may only be used for affordable housing or such other use as may be approved by the City of Binghamton City Council and Planning Commission. Is there a reason why that was included, that we could change it from affordable housing to anything else?
I can speak to that, Megan. So it's not so much that you could change it from affordable housing to anything else. It's more that the developer will still have to submit its application to New York State to get a certain number of affordable housing units approved. I believe the entire project is an affordable housing project. However, we don't control what it is New York State ultimately determines or approves. So this language leaves council a little bit more room should New York State come back and say there's 123 units, or for example, there's 92 units. That way we're not confined depending on what New York State winds up ultimately approving. And, just to clarify, this still needs to be approved by New York State. So this is a conditional, the sale doesn't go forward until that application is approved.
I see. Okay, so the flexibility is not so much with the use, but maybe the number of units, depending on the size or the shape of the lot, or, whatever unforeseeable things we might hear from New York State.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Any other questions for Megan on Article 22-115? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Megan. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dan, you with us? I see him on there.
On mute.
Oh,
Okay, you
yeah.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, thanks, Dan. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Go ahead with RL 22-104.
Okay, yes, I'm looking to transfer some funds from personal services, which were a painter and a labor spot that was open at the time. So we didn't, those funds were there to purchase some software to help us with our pavement program. The pavement program is it's a rating program. So it's an app on your phone at first. You drive every street in the city of Bampton, every street. It takes a picture, high def picture every 10 feet. When it's all said and done, we get this all imported into our program that we'll be purchasing for $16,000. And everybody could see it. You could see the worst streets in your, I should say, district. And then, you know, what we need to work on in the future to get to where we want to be with our streets. So it's a technology that's new. And a lot of people use it. And it's, we usually get an intern, and an intern would come in, it's a young kid. He'll drive around, look at our streets. He'll mainly hang downtown, maybe go to lunch 2-3 times a day. And we really don't know the quality of our streets citywide. This is going to tell us every street citywide, dead ends, everything.
2-3 times a day. That was funny. Okay,
Yeah,
so this will be that, I'm assuming.
Yes, yes. And like I said, it's $16,000, and it's something we can use in the future. It's not just you pay for it today, you use it this summer, and that's it, it's gone. No, it's something we could keep.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. Any questions for Dan on RL 22-104?
Just a quick question. So it takes
Go ahead.
pictures of, you said, what is it, every 10 feet? And he
Yes,
identifies all kinds of issues with the roads?
Yes, like the surface of the road, whether it's cracked, deep potholes, you know, it would give you a rating of 1 to 5, 1 being the best, 5 the worst. Okay, and it will actually show you pictures of that every, you know, it will highlight a block by block. So if one block's worse than the other blocks on Leroy Street, say, that's a long street. So the worst blocks on Leroy Street, it would show you that on the map.
Oh, sounds pretty cool.
I have a
Thank
question.
you.
Go ahead, Councilman Burns.
Hey, Dan, thanks for coming in. Would the computer be able to, would I be able to ask the computer to show me District 5, any streets that are giving a 5 rating, you know, or a 4 rating? Would it be able to jump at it right like that?
Yes, yep. It'd be in districts. Yep, you'll be able to go into just that district and look.
Right, but without having to look at all the streets, could I just ask the computer to show me all the streets in my district that have that bad rate, you know, good rating, bad rating?
Right, all the 5s. Yes, you could do that.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
You could also see that, Councilman Burns. You could see that on the map in your district. You could see it'll be shaded in red.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you so much.
Yep, you're welcome.
So obviously from the surface, Dan, this will help you and Bernice and the team prioritize, in the mayor's office, prioritize the streets, I'm assuming, at that point.
Yes, exactly. And you know, my dream, I told them when we did the webinar with them, my dream was to have them tell me what's underneath the surface. You know, that's our dream, right? To work from the bottom up, get the road solid from the bottom up. But this is what they have for now, and I think it will really help our program.
Okay, sounds like it. Well, thanks for forward thinking on this type of thing. Any other questions for Dan on this RL? Okay, thank you, Dan. We appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, do we have Dr. Burling out there?
President Strong, this is Megan. Dr.
Yep.
Burling isn't able to make it tonight. Is it okay if I cover her RLs?
Sure. So we have 22-109 and 22-110. Go ahead.
Okay, so 22-109, this is to amend R 2190 to reflect a change in the required match for the green infrastructure grant that's part of the DECO district project. The match was initially set at 10% of the grant award, but it really needs to be 10% of the project's cost. So in making that change, we would need to increase the match by a little over $6,000, and it'll be met by the URI DECO grant.
Okay, questions for Megan on RL 22-109? Okay, go on to 22-110.
Okay, this is awarding the contract to develop a restoration and relocation plan for the Ross Park Carousel, and it's awarding the contract to EDR. The plan that they'll be working on is both a feasibility study for the proposed relocation and also an updating of costs for restoration of the horses and that potential relocation. Funding for the plan comes from the $500,000 grant that we received from New York State for this project.
Okay, questions for Megan on RL 22-110?
One second. Megan, is there any timetable on the relocation?
Yeah, so when I spoke to Sean McGee today, what he told me is that once we award this contract, the hope would be that the plan could be done by the fall and that physical work could begin before the winter breaks so that we'd be able to send out the horses before winter sets in. And then should we move forward with that relocation, it would take about a year to a year and a half for the whole project to be completed.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. All right, I have a couple of questions on this. I'm wondering if the carousel as it exists now has a protective structure over it, the carousel housing or the housing shelter. Is that a protective structure over the carousel?
I can answer that, Megan.
Thank you, Pat. That'd be great.
Yes. So this is Pat tripping in. The state came in early on in the project and determined that since it was the last of our 6 carousels that was still open aired and kind of in a untouched pavilion type structure, that yes, they decided that the current structure was still was of historic value.
Okay, so the housing structure is original?
It was built in, I believe we got the carousel up and running in 1920, and our public works built it in 1921 or 1922. Originally, the carousel had like a canvas top on it to protect it from the rain.
Okay, so the restoration would include restoration of this 100-year-old carousel housing?
Yes, they would. That's kind of what this plan is going to be, is how to move the housing itself while saving it and not losing it.
I see. Okay. Yeah, because while I was reading this proposal, I was thinking, and I'm nowhere near a carousel expert, but I was thinking, I don't know if it would maybe behoove us to have maybe some more solid or modern protective housing on a carousel. I mean, again, I don't know, but that's really cool that the carousel housing is historical. So my next question, sorry, I'm trying to read my notes here. Okay, so I'm looking on page 41, the one, two, three, in the 4th paragraph, it says, as a result of the work, WRF will then add their findings to a pre-restoration report and provide a cost estimate for the proposed restoration. Is that coming to the city of Binghamton, that cost estimate?
Believe it will come to the city of Binghamton through EDR as a total price point on the whole project.
Okay. And I think my last question is in the last paragraph on that page 41 where it says cost estimation. Again, sorry, thank you for your patience as I'm reading through my notes here. So the cost estimation, you said it would come to the city of Binghamton. So it would be, well, any future restoration plans would be potentially grant funded? Would it be from the current grant or a future grant, or do you foresee it coming from the city of Binghamton budget?
So as part of, I believe, our 2023 budget, we're going to be coming back with a total cost of this project. We do have to match a portion of that $500,000 that the state is giving us towards the project. Some background on this: we got awarded this in 2014. We originally had the money in the city budget for the city's match of it. And then earlier when the state decided that the building itself was historical, that really gummed up the works for several years, to put it very nicely. It was a very slow and tedious process. So the city's portion of the funding actually expired and went back to whatever bond it came on. So that will be something that we will have to address with the 2023 budget.
Okay. Let me just check. I think that was my last question. Let me just see here. Oh, actually, okay. I have one more question. Now I really think this is my last question. But on page 51, there's a proposed invoice, and I know this seems like maybe a draft document, but none of the items have cost estimates. There's just a total cost at the bottom, and I was wondering if you knew how the total cost of $3,200 was arrived at.
That I do not know how they put that together. Yeah, looking at, I'm guessing that was sent to EDR as, what they'll be doing as their portion of working with EDR. But I can't really speak to that proposed invoice.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for all of the information. It seems like a really cool project. I had fun reading about it in the packet.
I am so excited to get this off the ground. It's just been looming over us for 8 years now, and it really, really needs to be done. So I'm excited. I think the mayor's office is excited. I think planning is excited to see this thing actually get some wings and start moving here.
Okay, thanks for pitching in there, Pat. Yeah, it's taking care of these historical assets is definitely helps everybody in the community and people to see what bring the past and the present together. So it's very exciting. So any other questions for Pat or Megan on 22-110? Okay, thank you both. I appreciate it. Thanks, Pat, for jumping in on that. Mr. Lake, yeah, I see you out there.
Good evening.
Go ahead with, why don't you just kind of step through, well, I guess we'll just do them one at a time and ask for questions real quick. So 22-111, go ahead with that.
Okay. That's the supplemental number 3 with Barton and LaJudas for recreation tennis courts. That's for additional review, engineering, testing, and management for removal and replacement of the top course on the tennis court. That surface didn't come up to standards and needs to be redone. The cost for that, we plan on deducting or having the contractor reimburse us for, since that was their error.
Okay, questions for Mr. Lake on RL 22-111?
Can I ask a question?
Councilwoman Resnetti, go ahead.
About how long do you think that process will take, Mr. Lake?
We're hoping to have it done before June 1st.
Oh, so they'll be starting.
It may go a little bit longer depending on the weather, but definitely we should have it ready for the summer fly.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on 22-111? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Lake, with 22-112.
Okay, 22-112 is authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation for the first ward infiltration study. And we were able to receive a $50,000 grant for studying infiltration and inflow in the first ward, which we need to eliminate all the inflow infiltration we can throughout the city.
Okay, questions for Mr. Lake on 22-112?
Mr. President.
Go ahead, Councilman Scringy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Evening, Ron. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good to hear from you. Was just wondering, as you're branching out into this, are there any particular parts of the ward geographically that you're looking at first, or?
Yeah, I think the first part of this is just to quickly go through the first ward and see where there may be problems and then concentrate on those.
Okay. Is there any way I can follow up with you, Ron, on what those geographic locations might be as we move over time?
Sure, I would appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yep, thank you. Okay, Mr. Lake, go ahead with 22-113.
Okay, 113 is authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Barton and Judas for that study, which is provided for by the grant for inflow and infiltration. They would do the preliminary engineering report, and from that, then we're hoping that we can know what areas need to be corrected and fixed.
Okay, that sounds good. Any other, Lake, on any of these RLs 111 through 113? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. Is Brian with us or Sharon? Sharon, are you gonna do 22-114?
Yep, for Brian, thanks.
Okay, go ahead.
This is an RL to provide funding for Kenneth Frank, who is currently retired and assisting us part-time to assist council in continuing to draft legislation as we get through the transition period with Corporation Council. We believe that this should be sufficient to assist with us during the transition. Please note that funding is coming from the first assistant corporation counsel line, which is the position that ideally I will be occupying in about 6 months, within the 6-month time frame.
Okay, any questions for, go ahead, Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. Could you just explain to us why you've asked this to be expedited, please?
Sure. One of the reasons we've asked this to be expedited is because the funding is already currently overdrawn by about $500.
Okay, and so this, if I'm understanding correctly, expediting this legislation would mean that the budget line from which the money is being drawn will be sufficiently funded, therefore it will not be overdrawn in the future. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct. Former Corporation Counsel Kenneth Frank continues to perform work for this. So this enables us to continue to pay him. We're asking that it be expedited because there's a negative balance in the line that he's currently using because we've simply gone over budget by about $500 so far. And all of that work is justified and really on behalf of council.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that explanation.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions for Sharon on 22-114? Okay, thank you. Back to Pat. RL 2299, go ahead.
Awesome. Sorry, I have a whole stack of these. So the first one tonight, 2299, it would be to enter into an agreement with the Binghamton Youth Sports Association to operate concession stands and sell field advertisements at our youth sport events. They're a new not-for-profit organization that was founded over the last year and a half or so by a group of parent volunteers who kind of reached out to my department and asked, hey, how can we help you? So we worked with them. Their bylaws and stuff are attached. Basically any money they make selling these advertisements or concessions comes back via donation to the Parks Department, whether it's, helping out with, funding new uniforms for the all-star teams, for example, or let's say I want to put a new pitching mound in somewhere, I can go to them as another source of revenue. Bringing it now because they just officially got their IRS not-for-profit status. So now it's all official and on board. I think it'll be a great asset to our youth and youth programming.
Okay, sounds like it could be a good partnership. Do we do that now, or is that just some of that revenue kind of just left out and not being able to take advantage of because we're not really pursuing that?
Right now, no one is running the concession stands. In the past, it has been groups very similar to this. They were all based on a side of town though. So it'd be the West Side Youth Association, the East Side Youth Association, the South Side Youth Association. Just over time, they kind of dried up. So this is trying to, revitalize that effort, but instead of just based on one side of town, just kind of citywide, program wide.
Okay, that sounds great. Any questions for Pat on this RL 2299? Okay, go ahead to 2200.
2200. This is to adopt the Binghamton Metropolitan Transit Study multi-use trail regulation guidelines for the Two River Greenway portions that are within city limits. Pretty much they put together a study and came up with what will be the best practice for kind of how we regulate trails, especially with the emergence of e-bikes and scooters. The guidelines they are proposing, you can find on page 127 of the packet. They're the circled guidelines. Basically, it's saying what type of e-bikes would be allowed and not, and what would the speed limits be. And what they are ultimately trying to do is get all the municipalities from, we go all the way through anything that's going to be part of the Greenway to have consistent regulation from city to city, municipality to municipality. We currently don't have any guidelines on how to use these multi-use trails, so I kind of deferred to the experts, which is what they do when they brought these to me.
Okay, Council Member Friedman, go ahead.
President Strawn, do e-bikes create noise pollution?
I don't believe so. They seem to be pretty quiet. I think they're all on like the batteries, so they're not like gas combustion, anything like that.
Okay.
And he did want me to mention that the max speed of these e-bikes are about the same max speed you would get if you were, really flying on a regular, really just going on a regular bicycle. So it's not a huge, it's not like these are going to be whipping around at 30 miles per hour. The max trail speed would be 10 to 15 miles per hour. which is about what you'd go on a regular bike.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Any other questions for Pat on 22-100?
Mr. President.
Go ahead, Councilman Scringy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hey, Pat, how are you?
Good. How about you?
Good to see you. Thanks for coming down. With respect to the max speed, I think there's a federal regulation regarding that already, right? In the US, I don't think e-bikes can go more than 20 miles an hour already as is. Maybe that varies from one state to the next. Maybe it's not federal and maybe it's state regulated. I was just wondering if you knew if the max speed on the trail was just maybe going to be capped at whatever that number is, or something lower, like I know you had said 10 to 15 or something like that.
So this is what Scott Regal, the BMTS planner, told me. He said, since the 2020 New York State e-bike and e-scooter legislation necessities does not provide language for e-bikes on multi-use trails, interpreted that regulations need to be established by each municipality within the jurisdiction of multi-use trails. So it doesn't really hit on the speed. And so I'm just kind of going off of what they handed me.
Yeah. So if New York State doesn't hit that, then that makes sense. I appreciate that. Thank you, Pat.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other questions on 22? Okay, Pat, it looks like the other three are all fee schedule. Why don't you zip through them and then we'll just do questions all together, 101, 102, and 108, if that's okay.
Yes. 101, 102, and 108. 101's removed the fees from Safety Town. They're $35 a kid, and we only have about 20 participants the last few years. We're just trying to make this it's a learning education program, so we're trying to make it as accessible as possible for our youth. The next one would be amend the fee schedule to add an indoor and outdoor summer basketball league for high school age kids, and add a fee for hosting an adult water volleyball league. And then 108 is to set in place a set of guidelines and standard fee for taking donations of park benches and trees. We get these all the time and everyone wants to do something different. So we're just trying to standardize how we're going to accept these donations in the future, and set up a line that will allow us to take care of them. So if someone donates a bench and, something happens to it within 10 years, that we're going to have money to actually take care of it, fix it, replace it as needed within that reasonable timeline.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on 101, 102, and or 108? Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. I appreciate making an educational event like Safety Town as accessible as possible. And in that regard, I understand why you're asking for the fee to be removed. How would this be funded then with the removal of the participant fee?
So we're talking about $700 in fees per year. We'll fund it through our regular budget. We'll be able to make up savings here and there to make this work. Most of Safety Town's the presenters and everyone are volunteers. So members of the fire department will come, members of the Humane Society will come, someone from Poison Control. So they all donate their time. So we don't have a huge expense cost of running the program.
Okay, thanks.
Councilwoman Resonetti, go ahead.
Hi, Pat. I'm just curious, because I remember Safety Town from many years ago when my kids went to it. But I'm wondering, you said, how many participants do you have now?
So in 2021, we offered 4 sessions. We had 5 children in one session, 0 in another, 9 and 4, so 18 total. 2019, we had 20 total. 2017, we had 44 total. And 2018, 45 total. So we're taking some hit from COVID, obviously, but just
But
to the end of
it was
the,
before COVID as well, right? It's been declining. It sounds like
yeah.
patient has-
And, you know, to us, it's an important, you know, set of guidelines. The fee was originally started when the program back in, I think, the early 80s, and it went to Safety Town National, which is no longer like a thing. So it was like a, you know, paid a fee per child to the national office, which isn't really in existence anymore. So we just kind of run it on our own now.
Okay, I'm just wondering it's just a great program that I'm just wondering what we can do to increase participation, I guess.
I'm hoping this jumps it back up. Unfortunately, you know, $35 is a, you know, insurmountable sum of money for a lot of people around here. So
Yes, it is. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with removing that fee for that program. So I think that's good forward thinking on that point. We can certainly make that up. Any other questions for Pat on 101, 102, 108, these fee schedule items? Okay, thank you, Pat. We really appreciate it.
Sorry, my camera took too long.
Oh, wait, we have one more.
Yeah. So now,
Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Once we waive this fee, is there a maximum number of attendees that can participate? Say we market this heavily. What is the max the city is able to accommodate?
I believe we hold 20 seats a session. So we'd be able to have 80 kids in the 2 sessions. We don't really want to offer more sessions per se, because it's so heavily reliant on, you know, volunteers coming and giving up their time. So we try and get them done in and out in 2 days. So it's usually a morning session, afternoon. So, you know, they would come for the day and then 2 weeks later they'd come again. If all of a sudden this booms and we're hitting 20, we can absolutely adjust on the fly. If that means we gotta, you know, take someone out of summer fun and move them over there to add more seats to make sure we have enough staff for the amount of kids, that's, you know, absolutely doable. So that'd be a great problem to have.
Okay. All right. So please share it with us once you begin the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Resinetti, go ahead.
Just a quick one, Pat. Now I'm curious, is it still MacArthur?
No, we have bounced around. We've been at MacArthur, Roosevelt, Franklin, Coolidge. So last year, we actually built the village at Phelps Park over on Upper State. I believe it's north side. And took an old basketball court that didn't have like the rim anymore. We fixed the pavement on it. Built the village there, turned the bathroom building into a little classroom. And it was actually really a great success having all of that playground space there as well. For when the kids did need a break from safety, it was easy to get them to a playground. So we're excited about that site. This year we are working on right now building new houses that go out on the village. We're doing those in-house, and then we're trying to get some art classes from the school district to paint them for us.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for Pat? Okay. Thank you, Pat. We really appreciate it. Okay. Mr. Pearsall, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming. RL 22. Wait, go ahead.
We missed one of mine towards the end. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Pearsall, I apologize. Give Pat one more second here. 22-105. I'm sorry. I was looking at the block. Yep.
I like to do all of my RLs for the whole year in one chunk.
No, thank you.
Sorry.
I apologize for that. Go ahead.
22-105, just accepting a donation that's going to go towards the Ross Park Carousel renovation from the Jane Johnson Wasson Trust.
Okay. Thank you. I'm assuming we all.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm assuming we're all in favor of that. Is that okay? Okay. All right. Anything else for Pat? Okay. Thank you, Pat, for pointing that out. I apologize.
Thank you.
I apologize, Charlie. Go ahead with 22-116.
Good evening. The board tonight voted to approve the legislation that's sitting in front of you. It's a $1 million increase to the insurance recovery for the CNBAF line. And there are 4 offsetting expense lines that would also be increased for this year's budget. It's equipment, CNBAF for $550,000. The equipment lease and rentals for CNBAF for $25,000. Professional services, CNBAF for $400,000. And sludge and waste hauling for the CNBAF of $25,000. And I would ask this be given expedition. The reason it was just last Monday, we were actually cleared and disinfected by ServPro. That allowed us a chance to get some of the contractors in to look over the situation. We had visits from insurance adjusters and our public adjuster on Thursday, and late in the day Thursday, we met with the city controller, actually came up with these numbers, and they were emailed to you on Friday. So it was a case of a quick turnaround. And the reason I am encouraging the expedite of this is to show our good faith to the DEC that we're doing everything possible, because we are in violation of our permit. And they are checking in every day to see what progress we're making. And we want to be able to demonstrate to them that we're doing everything we can for the sanctity of the river and the public health.
Okay. Questions? Council Member Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. Hi, Charlie. How are you?
Hi there. Good.
Okay, I have 2 questions. First of all, to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, you're asking for an increase in the budget line, but not an actual transfer of funds. Is that correct?
We're actually raising both. We're increasing
Okay.
the revenue we anticipate from the insurance company to actually fund these budget increases. So it doesn't change. It's not an involved transfer. It's actually an increase in what we're expecting back from the insurance company.
I see. Okay. And you said that we're currently in violation of our contract as per the DEC, understandably, because of this, unforeseen event. Are we being fined for this?
Not at this point.
Okay.
The permit, after we went through the consent order from the prior recovery process, we were treating chemically, and the consent order allowed us higher levels of phosphorus and nitrogen. Right now, we're back to those. So we still are treating the waste, but not to the more restrictive levels the Speedies permit was based on the biological aerated filtration, which is a much more cleaner process. So we're treating waste. We're just putting out higher levels of phosphates and nitrogen than the DEC has mandated we should be able to do. So waste is being treated. It's no worse than it was 2 years ago, but it's not as good as it was a year ago when everything was up and running as it should have been.
Right. So is there a timeline that within which we are allowed to treat this waste somewhat, but not as fully as we ought to be able to?
Not that we have been notified. And again, we're totally at the mercy of the DEC to arrange that, possibly the EPA. So the process is, they're monitoring us daily. At some point, there will likely be a notice of violation where they recognize we're not meeting it. And there will be prescriptive actions with that that'll tell us what we have to do, whether they establish a timeline. Hopefully they will be in conference with the mayors to talk this out before they mandate something. They're being very cooperative so far, but understand, it's their job to make sure that river is healthy. And while they sympathize with us, it's our responsibility.
Right. Yeah, I understand, on both sides, of course. All right. Thank you for the explanation.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Mr. Pearsall? Okay, thanks, Charlie. We'll get this taken care of Wednesday, and feel free to let everybody down there know to give us, keep giving us. I know we get the regular updates, but give us as many updates as you think we need, seriously, because I think that's part of the issue. So if you think something's coming, just say, hey, don't have all the information, but it's coming. And then it just or give us a little bit of a background, but especially during this time, because I don't want anybody to think that we're not, because we're paying attention, but sometimes, we don't know what to ask, or we don't know if something's coming. So proactive communication I would appreciate it, as it's necessary. You don't have to inundate us with everything, but just kind of so we can be there to support you guys. So we appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Did you have a question, Councilwoman Riley?
Oh.
Okay. Okay, Charlie, I think we're good.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Janine, 22103, can you tell us about that real quick?
Yep, so this is another of the 2022 tax rolls that we're correcting for Broome County, and this one's just for 62 the Circuit Street.
Okay, any questions on 22103? Okay, any comments, anything, Janine, on the pending legislation that we should be aware of, any changes, anything that we didn't go over before? Anything else from anybody on the pending legislation?
Nope, I think it's all set.
Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do is gavel out. We're gonna adjourn this in about a minute. And so just so you know, I'm probably gonna go home. It'll take me a couple minutes. I'll probably call back in on Zoom. And then, so should we take 3 or 4 minutes so people can just take a really quick 5 minutes? So I apologize, we went a little bit long. We kind of got started a little bit late, and all things considered, it's probably not as bad as I thought it was going to be when we first started. So I just want to mention, I'm going to mention something more about this Wednesday before I gavel out. I just wanted to say on the record that at least for me, our city family mourns the loss of Pat O'Day. I just wanted to mention that he's been a great asset to the city, a veteran for our country, just a lifelong resident, and he passed away over the weekend after a very fast and unexpected illness. I just thought I wanted to mention that. His arrangements are on Wednesday morning. So I'll probably mention something more on Wednesday night about that, but just wanted to mention that our heart goes out to his family, and it's definitely a loss for City Hall and the people down here. So just wanted to say that. So I will adjourn the work session back in 5 minutes. So take 5 minutes. Did everybody get that before we go? I got 2 earlier, so you should have 2 Zoom links for them. Does everybody? Okay.
Take 5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Session now, and then 5 under council.
Mr. President, your microphone is kind of wacky.
All right. We'll reconvene in 5 minutes with Councilman Scaringi taking over with the MPA meeting. Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone.